scale. Like a theme, not like a melody like Haydn might have written, but it definitely is ominous, and that descending line is typical of composers who want to create a sense of melancholy, of death, of you know, sorrow and desperation, sort of things that come along with that. Now to contrast that, theme 2 sounds like a brass band that's playing along with this. Now in 1830, Paris had seen a lot of executions. They had seen a lot of revolutions, and a lot of people met the fate to the guillotine. And it was a bit of a spectator sport. And sometimes they had bands out there playing. And that's the death blow. Yeah, the death blow came a little early there. So you can hear that in the second theme. And this is like the contrast that Berlioz wrote about, somber and wild, brilliant and solemn. That goes along with this procession. This is second revels in this romantic idea of combining death with kind of a bit of a party, you know? At the end, Berlioz brilliantly writes in the death blow. But before he does, you can imagine the artist is laid on the guillotine, and he stops, and the last thing that goes through his mind is his beloved. That idée fixe comes just for a brief moment in this movement, just before he's gone. And it's in a beautiful clarinet, sweet, lovely melody, kind of his idealized beloved. Chop, it comes down, and you hear his head go plop, plop into the basket. So, we'll listen for that.
Listen for the head.
It's there. It's a ball to play, it really is. Okay, I'm going to back up just a smidge. One last thought. Into the last movement, which is another wonderful thing. Before getting into the program note about the last movement, back to the real life Berlioz and his idealized romantic life. He didn't give up with Harriet Smithson. He asked her to the premiere of his Symphony Fantastique, and she didn't come. But there were other performances, and in some later performance she came. And she heard it, and she thought, I get it. I get it. He's a genius. And he's crazy. And I love him. And she married him. And they had about 2 years of happiness. They had a baby son. And then things went bad. And he cheated on her. He had a mistress. And then she died. The son died, then he had to marry his mistress, which is kind of the last thing that he wanted to do. And so life was kind of rough. Years go by. And in Paris, they were changing Paris. I'm not sure if this was when they were building the metro or something like that, but they were digging up the cemetery where Harriet Smithson had been buried. And he writes about this in his memoirs. And they contacted him, and he said, now look, if you want her, you have to go get her. And because we're going to tear up the cemetery. So he and his family do. They go out there, they find her plot, they dig it up, and the casket is kind of fallen apart. And he describes taking her out bit by bit. Bones, a little bit of hair, and, you know, things like that. It's just awful. And that's what I have envisioned at the opening of this fifth movement. It's got this kind of macabre, dank, dreary sort of feel to it at the beginning of the fifth movement here. Scenery music, you know, it's just kind of setting the stage, and that wonderful glissando at the end of the clarinet that's written in. His program note for this movement is this: he dreams that he is present at a witch's dance, surrounded by horrible spirits, amid sorcerers and monsters in many fearful forms, who have come to attend his funeral. Strange sounds, groans, shrill laughter, distant yells that other cries seem to answer. The beloved melody is heard again, but it is not its noble and shy character. It has become a vulgar, trivial, and grotesque kind of dance. When we listen for that, it's in a clarinet again, but not the beautiful clarinet at the end of the fourth movement. But now it's in an E-flat clarinet, which is a small clarinet. That sounds kind of squeaky and silly and a little bit kind of grotesque. We'll hear that as it comes. She it is who has come to attend the witches' meeting. Friendly howls and shouts greet her arrival. She joins the infernal orgy, bells toll for the dead. A burlesque parody of the Dies Irae, the witches' round dance, the dance and the Dies Irae are heard at the same time. I'll explain that Dies Irae in a little bit, but first let's hear her appearance, this transformation from the idealized actress to this misshapen, grotesque witch that's leading this party in hell. So she comes in a couple minutes into the first movement, and in that kind of squeaky, silly sounding clarinet. Transformation. You can hear that melody, but boy is it different than when it started. We'll listen here for a couple of minutes and listen up to where the bells toll. Orchestras play this, they try to find the biggest bells they can fit in the building and to play that kind of big sort of sound there. Now this Dies Irae theme that he wrote about is everybody in Paris in 1830 would recognize this tune. It was a hymn chant, a chant that was sung at Catholic funerals, masses. And the Dies Irae is the Day of the Dead, the day of wrath, when the end times are at hand, all the dead arise, and they come for judgment. And they're separated from the good and the evil for heaven and hell. So it's a holy, reverential sort of chant that Berlioz takes in quite a different place. He starts it with just the low brass, tuba and